On today's show, Kawhi Leonard makes his return after a few weeks away, but the Clippers can't get past the Cavs. Oklahoma City avenges its one loss of the year, moves to 17-1. We talk about every game from a wild day in the association on Sunday, right here on Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
What's up, everybody? My name's Danny Cunningham. You might know me from Locked On Cavs. You might know my partner, Swipa, from Locked On Nuggets. And we both want to say thank you to you for making this edition of Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. It's because of people like you that the Locked On Podcast Network is now the #1 sports podcast network in all of America. You can find this show at any Locked On podcast, anywhere you get your podcast. It's Apple, Spotify, that's anywhere else. We're also on YouTube, so make sure you hit that thumbs up button for us as we get rolling here. In today's episode, brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can bet just $5. If your first $5 bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets used all across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started today. And we begin in Cleveland, where the Cavaliers beat the LA Clippers 120-105. Donovan Mitchell was fantastic for the Cavs in this game, but Kawhi Leonard finally returned after missing around 3 weeks with a foot and ankle sprain. Kawhi finished with 20 points on 6 of 13 shooting in just under 27 minutes of action. And while the Clippers fall to 5-12 with this loss, I did think the Cavs played well in this game, and maybe we can get to that in a minute. But I do wonder with Kawhi coming back, if it's like almost now, and they are behind the 8 ball because of their record, but if it's almost like, well, now the season can actually begin because they have a healthier version of themselves out in Los Angeles.
I mean, yeah, I guess the season has started for the Clippers a while ago. It started for Kawhi again, with this game. I think that it's not that like Kawhi owes his teammates, because that's not what it is. Like everybody's on the same team and you have the same responsibility. But I do think there's something too. James Harden has had to carry quite the load this year. And I don't, a lot of fans that might be more casual with their approach to the Clippers and how James Harden has performed this year. I mean, we just got a 55 ball from James Harden just a few days ago. And if you look at like a lot of the on-off stuff with James Harden, this year he's averaging 28 points a game, 8.4 assists, 6 rebounds. He's shooting fairly well from the field. He's shooting 10 threes a game, 39%. I mean, he has really had to do a lot to even just try to keep this team afloat. And then like today, this is his worst game he's had in a while. But I think, reintegrating Kawhi Leonard and them just trying to figure out like just possession by possession, who's going to have the ball, how we're going to make things work again. I know they're really glad to have him back because they need him to play. They need him to play well. But I do hope he's able to really put together, a string of runs where he can play really well and, I think put up meaningful points for this team, play defense. Ivica Zubac had, I don't know if his best game of the year, but 33 and 18 is nothing to sneeze at. And obviously
he's really good, man.
Yeah, his touch around the rim is phenomenal. He's easily one of the best bigs in the paint in the NBA. And, honestly, Evan Mobley is just not – we can have a conversation about Evan Mobley. I think Evan Mobley's a really good player, but, he's not the most physical dude in the world. And, he just doesn't handle size super well. And Zubac just kind of showed him, like, there's levels to this, but I do hope the Clippers start winning in part because – OKC's getting their pick this year, and I think a lot of people are just kind of like, we'll talk about OKC here in a minute. They're already like one of the greatest teams of all time. So this idea that they would then, be getting multiple players at the top of the draft next year, and I know for a lot of people, it's just kind of like, I want to see parity, and that would become a whole different situation. So hopefully the Clippers win because I think I had them picking to go into the playoffs anyway. I think they can make the conference finals, but right now, they're just trying to survive and find a way to win and get to 500 again.
To your point about the Thunder having the Clippers pick, so they have an unprotected Clippers first-round pick this year. They also have a top 8 protected Utah Jazz pick, which I think by the end of the season, the Jazz will probably be safe to keep their own pick. But right now, the Jazz have played some solid basketball and maybe won a few too many games for their own good in terms of the pick goes, but I think that's a little ways down the road before we really start to look into that. Zubats was awesome in this game. Like, I thought that for stretches, he was the best player overall. Donovan Mitchell was fantastic on Cleveland side of things, and he continues just what has been a great start to his season. I think he's playing the best basketball of his career. He finished with 37 points on 22 shots. He's shooting over 50% from the field. His true shooting's up over 60%. Like, he is playing at such a high level. He, I think, is playing the most complete basketball of his career too, because he also had 8 rebounds and 6 assists in this game. And I think it's been a little underrated, the weight that he's had to carry in Cleveland too, because Darius Garland played on Sunday night. It was just the 5th game that he's played so far this season. And Garland has not been back and fully healthy and fully integrated to this team. So Donovan has had to carry a heavy load because they've had a lot of other injuries too. They've had, I think, 10 different starting lineups in the first 18 games that they've played. And I just think Donovan has been at such a high level that even though he made first team All NBA last year and finished 5th in MVP voting, and this shouldn't be a discussion about awards, but it feels like he's playing at a higher level than he was even then.
Well, yeah, I'm not shy about, I don't think he deserved that first team All NBA last year. He got in because of the wins. I think Anthony Edwards was better than him last year. This is not the story. I think this year, Wemby plays enough games. We'll see. The top 5 could be locked. But, I do think if Wemby doesn't play enough, Donovan Mitchell, Cade Cunningham has played super well this year. I think there are some players that are really vying, for that spot. And look, man, D-Mitch, man, I think it's not that people have gone to not appreciate him, but he's kind of tucked away in Cleveland. They won 64 games last year, and then they disappointed in the playoffs. But, dude, he's averaging 30.8 points a game. And I'm going to tweet this out too, bro. 30.8 points a game on 65.6% true shooting. And, we'll get to Shea in a minute. Shea's averaging 32 this year on 67. Like, D-Mitch isn't far off. The impact is obviously different. That's a whole different conversation. But, like, we're seeing some all-time great scoring, and this is not including some other players in the league that are going bonkers. But D-Mitch has been great this year. He's shooting really well. He looks comfortable. He's been aggressive. He's been assertive, Danny. I'm actually really excited to see what the rest of the season looks like, because I don't know what happened with the Detroit Pistons. It's going to be probably them in Cleveland vying for number 1 for all the rest of the year, just because Detroit at this point runs so many games that they got such a great lead, in the NBA. So I'm excited for Donovan Mitchell, man. He looks good. Do you think Evan Mobley do you think he's being held back by his mentality? Like, should he be better? He's good. Like, he's an all-NBA player. Do you think he should be more, like, he should be better than what he is right now? There's a step that he might be missing a little bit.
I think he should be better, and I think the Cavs expected him to be better, and I think Evan expected himself to be better. But I don't think it's a mentality thing. I think his handle is not where it needs to be. Because one of the subtle changes that the Cavs have made in the past week, and knowing that they were getting Darius Garland back on Friday, he played against the Pacers and was pretty good in that game. But they split up him and Donovan Mitchell in the rotation in a way that they didn't last year. Like, last year, those two played a lot of minutes together, and the Cavs were predictably awesome when those two were on the floor. And this year, they wanted to put more on Evan's shoulders, and that hasn't necessarily gone as well as they thought it would be. Like, he's not been as efficient. His shot chart is not what you want an Evan Mobley shot chart to be. And in this game, he was 9 of 12 from the field. He had 18 points. He had 10 boards. Like, I thought he was okay. Right now, his jumper does not look good at all. He missed both threes that he took, and he missed them badly. He was 0 of 4 at the free throw line, which has suddenly become an issue where he just can't shoot free throws. So I don't think it's a mentality thing with him. I do think that the handle is number 1. Like, he needs to be better off the bounce in order to get to the player that he should be able to be. And I do think that because it's not gone as well as everybody really anticipated it going, I wonder if the confidence is down a little bit, and that might be affecting the jumper.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely sounds like that could be a part of it, man. I'm curious to see just kind of how he continues to develop, just because Chet Holmgren, they're always going to have the conversation, obviously, because they're two really elite defensive players. Chet is having like an insane year, and scoring year especially, so I know a lot of people are hoping that Evan's able to take that kind of a step, or he becomes a certified player like that. And even defensively, man, I think he's really good too, but I also think there's room for him to grow defensively, because he has so much potential. But it's just like what's going to happen for him to be able to get there and to realize that. I think tonight he was good, but also I'm watching this game and I'm just kind of like, one day something's going to like click for him, Danny, and then it's just going to be like, this is going to be a due to like MVP combos possibly.
Right. And there was a day like that last year, and it was in early December. The Cavs played the Charlotte Hornets, and Evan Mobley hit, I believe it was 6 threes in that game. He hit 5 threes in the first quarter. And like from that point on last season, that's when Evan Mobley turned into an all-NBA player. And I'm not going to say that there's going to be another day that happens like that in 2 weeks the way that one was, but I think it is. I'll just say this. I think it's a little early to be like, man, Evan Mobley has not gotten better this year. I think that this is one, just knowing how things went last year, this is one where I'm willing to give it just a little bit more time. But we've got a ton more to get to, including, you mentioned him, Swipe, but OKC moves to 17-1 with a win on Sunday against the Blazers. We'll dive into that and every other NBA game next right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. But first, today's show brought to you by Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or the hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. And Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits save you hours each and every week. Plus, knowing you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you real peace of mind. So try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnba. That is gusto.com/lockedonnba, and get 3 months for free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnba. One more time, that is gusto.com/lockedonnba. Today's show is also brought to you by Wayfair. It's the holiday season, and that means it might be time for you to have to do a little bit of entertaining. And maybe that means it's time for you to do some freshening up around the house. You have to get your home ready, right? Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, fun serveware for some of that holiday hosting you might be doing, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait, right? Thanksgiving is Thursday. That means Black Friday is not until Friday, but you don't have to wait because the Wayfair Black Friday sale is happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas and everything in between. Maybe it's a bathroom that needs redone. Maybe you want to add some cookware to your kitchen to make things easier for you on Thanksgiving while you entertain, or maybe you just want to one-up what you were able to do last year. Wayfair has it all, so don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's 70% off. Again, wayfair.com, wayfair.com. Sale ends on December 7th. Thank you for making today's edition of Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen. Thank you for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen every single day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. And you can find the Oklahoma City Thunder winning basketball games whenever they play them, Swiper, because they moved to 17-1 on Sunday with a 122-95 win over the Portland Trail Blazers. Predictably, SGA was awesome. He had 37 points on 13 of 18 shooting, made all 9 free throws that he took, added in 7 assists and 5 rebounds as well. And now the Thunder avenged their one loss. They lost earlier this year to the Blazers. That game was the second night of a back-to-back. And I don't know that there's like a ton to dive into other than the Thunder are awesome and the Blazers are a solid team. But I am starting to think, is 74 wins possible for this Thunder team? You are muted.
Sorry, before the season, I did want to interrupt your ads. I predicted that they were going to win 70, but I think at this point, where we are, y'all, get to Shea in a second. AJ Mitchell, they have a bench player making $3 million that was 8 of 8. It had 20 points today off the bench. They're bringing Alice Caruso, who's a plus 25, off the bench. Then Isaiah Joe, really good shooter, coming off the bench. Jalen Williams coming off the bench for this team. And then in their starting lineup, Cason Wallace, certified blue chip player, elite defender. Isaiah Hartenstein, elite defender, great post player. Chet Holmgren, former top 3 pick in the NBA draft, having a great season this year. And then you add in Lou Dort, one of the best defenders in the sport, and then you give him Shea, and Shea was 13 of 18 today, 9 of 9, 37 points. They're just a monster. Like, this team is full of monsters, and we're going to look back at this era of Thunder basketball, and one, the question is going to be, how did they get this team in a CBA era that they had this much talent on it? But then, two, Sam Presti going to get a lot of credit. Seeing the vision with Shea, trading for him for the Kawhi Leonard deal, and Paul George, and then obviously putting the talent around him over the, from 2022 really on, and giving him like the depth of talent that he has. Shea taking this crazy leap, become one of the best guards that we've seen in not just modern NBA, but ever. Like, we're just getting to a point now where this team is so loaded from top to bottom, and Shea's like at the peak of his powers, especially in terms of as a scorer. They're just in a different deal right now, man. So, I think Portland's good too. Now, Portland was without Shaedon Sharpe and Drew Holiday and Robert Williams today. So they obviously were missing a lot, but even still, they put hands all over Portland. And one of the things I'll say about where the Thunder are defensively, they're so dominant that even when they don't have like players in the rotation, like, J-Dub, who is an all-NBA player last year, it's not that it doesn't matter, because it does, but they're so well built. They can withstand, Danny, like players not being there and being available and in their lineup, and that matters so much. And again, when you have Shea, that allows for them to work the offense and to do what it needs to do. But even this year, Danny, if you check PvP stats, they're a plus 19 with Shea this year. They're a plus 16 without him in 155 minutes he hasn't played, because their defense is a 106 with him, which is elite. It goes to a 92 when he's off the floor. It's just, I don't know how to describe it, man. I just think that, like, it's lightning in a bottle. We did not expect this, in 2021 when the Bucks won, when the Warriors won in 22, when the Nuggets won in 23. And then it started to kind of up the year the Celtics won, but then it wasn't there yet. But then last year happened, and now, it's one of the best teams ever. And, Shea is one of the best guards that we've ever seen as well. And so it's just a perfect mix of talent, timing, and the CBA that I think they have managed to work around because of Sam Presti's brilliance, while other teams are very openly struggling to kind of work around a lot of that stuff.
So I think the stat that showcases how dominant the Thunder are, particularly on the defensive end of the floor, the best, is obviously their defensive rating. They have a defensive rating this year in 18 games, which, oh, by the way, no team in basketball has played more than 18 games. They, along with Dallas and Cleveland and Golden State, have played the most basketball games so far this year. So it's not like they're Houston, who has not had a back-to-back yet. Like, this is a team that has been doing this while not necessarily getting a lot of rest so far. Mm-hmm. Their defensive rating is 102.8. That is obviously the best in the league. The Detroit Pistons have the second best defense in basketball right now. Their defensive rating is 110 flat. That is a difference of 7.2 points. That is the same difference between the Detroit Pistons at 2 and the Portland Trail Blazers at 22nd in basketball. Like, the gulf between them and everybody else on the defensive side of things is so unbelievably wide that that alone, like, if they just had an average offense, say they had a replacement level offense, let's say that instead of the 119.6 offensive rating, let's say they were the Atlanta Hawks at 115, middle of the pack offense, they would still be an all-time great team. But they're great on both ends of the floor. It's just the one end, they are historically dominant. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think OKC fans, this is kind of probably what, this is what the Warriors probably felt, the Spurs at times, I would say the Bulls. You're just at a point where your team is so much better than the field that you're now like, you're just living in a different kind of stratosphere in a day-to-day existence. And honestly, I just expect when the Thunder play now, Danny, it might be close to start the game for a little bit, a little nip and tuck, but eventually they're going to put the hammer down and they're just absolutely going to floor it. and they're going to just run through you, and they go on these waves and these runs where it just they touch the heavens, man. Like, just truly special stuff.
It is unlike anything I've ever seen. I think it's different dynastically speaking than the Spurs and the Warriors, because while those teams, like the Warriors in particular, they felt inevitable, but they felt inevitable because of what they could do offensively. Like, it felt like Steph is going to hit 3 threes in a row and it's just going to be backbreaking. And this feels inevitable because there are going to be stretches of like 4 or 5 possessions where teams feel like they get one good shot. And if you're getting a good shot 20% of the time, you are never going to win. And that, I think, is why they feel as dominant as they do just overall as a basketball team. We've got a few more games to get to. We've got to talk about the Suns getting a win over the Spurs, Miami getting a nice win over Philadelphia, and everything else that happened on Sunday right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. But first, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or if you just want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for your shot at a bigger payout. They've got everything you could ever ask for between the NBA, NFL, and everything else. Monday is typically not only a big day in the NBA, but of course, Monday Night Football, and FanDuel has it for you. Carolina taking on San Francisco. 49ers, 7.5-point favorites at home. Panthers have been better than expected. 49ers maybe possibly getting a little bit healthier. 7.5 points feels like a big number, but we will have to wait and see how that goes. That could be your first $5 bet on FanDuel, and if it is, and if it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. That's right. FanDuel giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you for making today's edition of Locked On NBA Game Night your first watch on YouTube. And if you are watching right now, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button for us, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest from us here at Locked On NBA. And the Los Angeles Lakers get a nice, close 2-point win over the Utah Jazz. Let's head on out to David Locke of Locked On Jazz for more.
I know this will stun 28 other teams in the NBA, but the Lakers got a really favorable whistle at the end of a game, and that might be why they won. David Locke of Locked On Jazz. Lakers beat the Jazz 108-106. The Jazz inbounding down 2 with 7 seconds left. Keontae George got arm hooked by Marcus Smart. When he came off a pick, he went to the ground before the ball was inbounded, and the whistles didn't blow. The inbound then got to Nurkic, who handed back to Key, who's now back up on his feet, and he missed a 3, and the Lakers win it. It would have been a foul before the ball got inbound, so the Jazz would have had 1 free throw and then been down 1 if they made it, with a chance to possibly come back. The Jazz were on a furious rally after being down by 12 in the fourth quarter and working their way all the way back to being there. Lauri Markkanen actually had a free throw line jumper with a chance to take the lead late. Then Luka hit just 1 of 2 free throws, and the Jazz were unable to hit the final shot of the ball game. Keontae George had 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists for the Jazz, and continues to be absolutely marvelous. The Lakers took Lauri Markkanen out of the game for most of the night. He hit 2 threes, both of them in the final 90 seconds of the game. He was 8 of 19. Luka Doncic, 33 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists for the winning squad. LeBron had 17.6 rebounds and 8 assists in his second game back. Lakers beat the Jazz 108-106 in Salt Lake City.
So the Lakers were leading Utah with 4:41 left. They were up by 13 points, and they could not score offensively to close. It was 102-89, and obviously they won this game 108-106. What do you think? And we could talk about the foul that wasn't called and how that may have changed the game, but what do you think needs to change offensively for the Lakers late in games?
Well, Danny, I think the problem, and I've said this last year too, Luka, LeBron, Reeves, Danny, when you think about what kind of offense a trio like that would run, what comes to mind naturally? So you got LeBron, ball handler, Luka, ball handler, Reeves, ball handler. What, in your brain, what kind of offense does that sound like?
To me, it would be a free-flowing offense would be the best one, because you've got a lot of guys that can create not only for themselves, but more importantly for others, right? Like, that should be a share the load type of offense.
Yeah, the problem is, in actuality, that's not how Luka plays basketball for the most part. And it's not a bad thing either. This is just truly like the situation. Like, this is just how Luka plays. And, LeBron has learned how to play off ball, but you see Austin Reeves, before LeBron got there, he was thriving being more on ball. And if you look at just like kind of where the Lakers rank right now, just in terms of like where they are in basic usage stuff. I mean, Luka is leading the NBA in usage at 37% of possessions. He's finishing the possession with the ball in his hand on a shot or a pass, right? Like that's nice. Extremely high. But if you have multiple players who are kind of relying on a very similar system to be able to have the ball in their hand, to end these possessions, to initiate possessions, that just puts the team in a very, interesting place. Now, it's not a bad thing per se. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. But Austin Reeves have the 30% usage himself. They don't share the ball like that. There are a lot of drive and attack, create three-pointers, or try to find a lob. But if you ask me, Danny, that's just not how like elite offenses work time and time and time again. Now, the reason the Thunder get away with it is because SGA is a pull-up monster. So when SGA gets to a spot, it's off a drive, it's a layup, or it's a dunk, or it's a mid-range shot that he can hit 52% of the time. That just changes the floor for how he's getting defended. And then on top of that, like he's so good isolating and in space that his contested look is different than Luka or Bron or Reeves. And I just think that when you're trying to build a closing lineup situation, mismatch hunting can only go but so far. And that's really what they do. I don't think the Lakers are going to have an elite offense with all three of them on the floor. They didn't last year. Maybe that changes this year, if they have DeAndre Ayton. But Danny, I think that the shortcomings are just within the style of the offense, if anything else.
And it is worth noting, Ayton left this game with a knee contusion too. So that certainly factors into this equation. But I think we've all heard the phrase like greater than the sum of its parts, right? Where guys can elevate each other and become better than what their talent would actually suggest they are. I worry about the Lakers offense maybe being less than the sum of its parts because they've got these three two of them are all-time great offensive players. I'm not going to put Austin Reeves in that category, obviously, but they've got three really awesome offensive players. And you would think, okay, simple math, three really awesome offensive players equals one of the best offenses in basketball. I just don't know that that's the way that it's going to go. To your point, moving on to another game, the Miami Heat get a 127-117 win over the Philadelphia 76ers. Norm Powell had 32 points for the Heat in the win. Tyrese Maxey had 27 points, but in the loss for the Sixers, but the news of the day in Miami, Tyler Hero set to make his return on Monday for the Miami Heat when they take on the Dallas Mavericks. How do you think Tyler Hero could change things for Miami?
Well, their offense has been cooking. They have been a lot of motion offense, like creating as many open opportunities as possible for teammates. They've run really on efficiency. So Tyler Hero, though, to his credit, he brings them their own really good ball handler, pull-up shooter, shot creator, play creator. Again, he's not like elite at it, but he's better than anything else that they have. So he's obviously their best offensive player. And I think that should, and Norman Powell, shout out Norman Powell, Norman's having a really good season as well. But I do think that having another ball handler, another shooter, another shot creator, that means a lot in this league because you can never have too many of them. And I think Norman getting 32 today, you can kind of see it like Bam Adebayo, Khalil Ware, Norman Powell, Tyler Hero, Davion Mitchell, Peel Larson, Jaime Jaquez. That's a really, really, really solid rotation in the Eastern Conference. And so if Tyler's healthy, he's able to hit those jumpers, he can self-create and create for other people, that's going to average a whole nother level. It's going to allow them to go to a whole nother level offensively, and I think even just maximizing Bam Adebayo and Khalil Ware. So that should help them a lot. The real question is just going to be defensively. Are they going to be able to maintain their scheme with Tyler Hero? Now, they've done it before. It's just about doing it in this iteration of the Miami Heat.
We will have to wait and see. I'm interested how he fits in and how they have to maybe change their style offensively. But elsewhere, the Boston Celtics got a win over the Orlando Magic in Boston. Let's head on out to John Corrales from Locked On Celtics for more.
Boston Celtics bounce back and get a win over Orlando, a very shorthanded Orlando team after an embarrassing loss. On Friday, I'm John Corrales from the Locked On Celtics podcast. The lead was up to 26 at one point, and then Jace Richardson, Jet Howard for Orlando cut that thing all the way down to 6 in the fourth quarter. The Celtics couldn't get stops, but luckily they were able to hit shots and kind of keep pace. Jaylen Brown scored 12 in a row to help the Celtics hold off that young Orlando lineup. And after that loss on Friday, to get this, to hold on, to bounce back is important for the Celtics because they have a really tough stretch of games coming up. Celtics shot well in this one. They got bounce back shooting performances from Derek White, from Sam Hauser, Anthony Simons was huge. The second quarter where the Celtics forced a lot of turnovers and cashed in on those, that was where this game really was broken open. I'll have a whole lot more on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
I wonder if he will also have the Backstreet Boys on because they made a nice cameo in the background there.
Yeah,
Boston's got the music. Boston's got the music in the background of these shorts from John, man.
Mm-hmm, yeah, it sounded like he was at a bowling rink too for a little bit.
It sure did. And I do want to hit on some of these other games, so we don't necessarily have a ton of time to talk about that one. Toronto Raptors got a 119-109 win over the Brooklyn Nets. Is there anything you want to hit on from this game, Swipa?
Yeah, Raptors. Holy cow. What a winning organization. 12-5 now, by the way, second in the Eastern Conference.
They take on the Cavs tonight in Toronto. I will be interested to see that one. I will be there in person to check that out. The Phoenix Suns continued what's been a really nice start to the season for them with a win over the Victor Wembanyama-less San Antonio Spurs. Here's our guy, Ben Garcia, with more.
Phoenix Suns defeat the San Antonio Spurs 111-102 in a game that, if you asked me before the season started, what would the perfect Phoenix Suns win look like? I would tell you that it looks exactly like this. Gritty defense, suffocating to the point of attack, to where you have that carry you in the second half, and Devin Booker and Dylan Brooks and Colin Gillespie, whoever your shot makers are that day, carry you over the hump. Because that is exactly what this looked like. Now, expectations have changed a little bit, but although Devin Booker wasn't amazing, he woke up in the second half. Dylan Brooks hit a couple of jumpers. Colin Gillespie continues to be a revolution off the bench. It all just continues to go the Suns' way. And they're building it off of their identity, which is on the defensive side of the ball. But more than anything than that, the question is now, with 2 wins over teams like the Timberwolves and the Spurs, you have the tiebreakers on those teams. You've got 11 wins. You say to yourself, are they really a play-in team, or are they just straight up a playoff team? I don't know, but we'll dissect it. We'll dissect that this week on Locked On Phoenix Suns.
Is it too early to think the Suns could make the playoffs?
Yes.
I agree. I'm with you. I think it's a little too early. Let's see them get into the meat of their schedule first. And in the final game that we've got to talk about, the Atlanta Hawks get a 113-110 win over a Charlotte Hornets team that was on the second night of a back-to-back. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had 23. Jalen Johnson had 28 as he continues what's been a very nice season. 11 assists for him as well. And notably, the Hawks moved to 9-4 since Trae Young exited the lineup with a knee injury. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, I think Jalen Johnson's the best player in that team, and I think we can stop pretending, though.
I think that might be the case, and I think that when Trae Young gets back, it's going to be a very, very interesting dynamic. But thank you for hanging out with us here on Locked On NBA Game Night. You can find this show anywhere you get your podcast. That's Apple, that's Spotify, that's anywhere else. We are available on YouTube as well, so make sure as we get out of here, hit that thumbs up button for us, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And, of course, we will be back on this channel tomorrow talking more about every single NBA game.